Yo, what's up? It's DNA for sure. And this video is about the SAT. A lot of you know that I write college essays. I'm a freelance writer. That's what I do for money. And I'm going to make a video about the SAT and the police and shooting after this. But it's the one about the SAT. The SAT is the most popularly taken standardized test as far as post high school students, adults taking this test, or people take it when they're in high school, in the juniors and seniors. It's very important. It's one of the most important tests that you can take as far as college admissions. And it's very biased. I had to write a paper about this, and I was very unaware of the facts. I've heard that it was biased and prejudice, but I just didn't understand how. Now, I heard this first from a show called Good Times. It was a show that was made in the 70s, I believe, and it was based on the 60s. But the SAT is a 3.5 hour test, 3 hours and 45-minute test, and the sections are reading, writing, and math. Now it's biased towards in the favor of white men specifically. How was it biased? The test asks you questions, and they throw little words in there. They're culturally biased towards white people. Number one, if you ask certain questions to, let's say, a black man or a black woman that lived in South Central or the South Side of Chicago or Bed-Stuy or the West Side of Atlanta, if you ask them certain questions about a patio or a bidet or things like that. I'm not saying that people from the hood or from more inner city or poor areas don't know what a patio or a bidet is, but these are questions that should not be asked to these people because that's not in their environment. And it's not even the poor people. There's people that live in New Mexico who are mostly minorities. There's people who live in certain areas that just don't know what these things are. There's a term for speedboat, like small speedboat racing in lakes. And they don't have that shit in New Mexico. They don't have that shit in certain parts of the country. So it's culturally biased towards white men who live on the West Coast, if you can understand that. Now, if you ask somebody from the suburbs what the trap is before all this music shit, or if Jeremy was sitting in the trap and he had his fish scale on the table, how many shooters, how many, that's the same thing. It's culturally biased towards white men. And it's designed to affect or harm black women the most. And black women right now, statistically, are the most educated or pursuing education the most, which is crazy. It's culturally biased towards white men and people with money because the SAT it's not based on intellect. It's based on educated guesses and cognition and the ability to be coached, the ability to be trained, the ability to be taught and guided. It's not based on education, it's not based on intellect, it's not based on IQ, but those things will come in handy. The SAT is all about educated guesses first, and second, if you can afford the coaching materials, these SAT preparatory classes, these SAT books, these the coaching side of it, the ability to be trained to take the SAT. That's why a lot of people think, okay, these rich people go to good schools, these rich people have more education, they're more exposed to things, and that's what it's really about. Some people don't know what a patio is. Some people don't know what a bidet is. Some people don't know these some people don't have the exposure to understand certain words and these cultural surroundings that other people do. And it's not about how smart you are, how intelligent you are. They're asking you things that you wouldn't know unless you are sometimes a rich white person or rich. But it's all about the training. If you take somebody out of the south side of Chicago or the west side of Atlanta or South Central LA, and they said, okay, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to smoke cigarettes, I'm not going to fucking do this and this and this, I'm going to save all my money so I can take these SAT training classes, they would do just as well. Because that's the advantage that the more abundant people financially can afford. It's all about the training. It's all about your culture. If you take those same people and you put them in those environments with white people and they know, okay, this is a patio, this is a bidet. And I'm only using those examples because that was what was on Good Times. But that's 100% true. It's culturally biased. It's really fucked up that they made it like that. And I just wanted you guys to know that. So if you're planning on taking the SAT, hang out with your fucking rich friends and take the SAT courses. It's not about your intelligence. It's all about educated guesses. The most that they judge you on is the math and the essays. I forgot to put this. I was not going to put this in. I forgot though. They say that the only thing that separates men from women is the math, the mathematics section of the SAT. Because the average woman makes decisions a little bit different than the average man. Women tend to second guess themselves on standardized tests. And when it comes to standardized tests, because I'm a very good standardized test taker all around, but it's all about not second guessing yourself, having confidence in your answers. And women on standardized tests tend to change their answers more or think about the question more and are not as confident in their answers. And they set the time up to fuck women, basically, out of having the same opportunity as men. And then they add the white culture to it. So that's why I say it's facts. You can look it up. It's called College Board. Those are the people who made the SAT and made standardized tests and set the precedents for college admissions. It's made for white men to be more superior as far as their skills, and it's made for black women to fail. And the more minorities that you add to that, the more they're going to fail because of these facts, because they knew it was going to happen and it's happening now. And it's a big possibility that it's gonna make us go backwards. You have all these black women and Hispanic women taking these tests, and there's more than ever black women and Hispanic males and black men. Black men are pretty consistent since the 90s as far as us going to college. It's been consistent for the last 10 years, which is kind of sad. But you add more of these people to the calculation, and there's more black women, okay, I didn't pass it or I didn't do as well as I thought, and they're coming back home wherever they may live, whether it's the suburbs or the hood or someplace that's not violent and they're whatever, even if they're rich. They come home and they tell their friends, like, this is this and it was hard and whatever. And they expose the cultural biases to people who look like them. It could possibly discourage them or it could motivate them. But that's it. That's all I wanted to let you guys know about that. My findings. Yeah. How do I feel about it? I don't feel, I'm not surprised. I'm not flabbergasted. I'm not surprised at all. Am I okay with it? I feel like maybe it's a bit of it shows me America's weaknesses. The fact that this test was created like 100 years ago, whenever College Board was created, I believe it was, I don't think it was in the 1800s, the late 1800s. I don't know what year it was created. I forgot. I actually put that in the essay. But it shows me America's weaknesses. The fact that they haven't changed. It doesn't matter when it was made. The fact that they haven't changed this test and it's been pretty consistent and it's still like this, it shows me America's weaknesses, America's fears, and America's strengths. Because if you know anything about America and our culture and how it's changing and who influences it and why, it shows me what we're really made of. And I'm proud, honestly, that they took one of the most important tests that you can ever take besides a drug test, and they made it harder for certain people. I would take that as, I feel complimented by that. That feels like a compliment. You want to make things easier for the certain people, and you want to make it harder for other people. It's not like when we were first allowed to vote, when they were asking us how many bubbles does, a piece of soap make, where it's just fucking impossible. Like, bro, that's not a real question. Why the fuck are you asking me that? How many bubbles does a fucking bar of soap make? That was the fucking test you had to take to fucking vote in the fucking 60s, or right before segregation was abolished, to vote. That's the test that black people had to take. So if they're making it harder for us, they want us to work harder than white people to prevail. And one of my teachers said that he feels more comfortable with minorities and women as his doctor and his lawyers and things like that in the professional field, because he knows that they had to work that much fucking harder than a fucking white man. Possibly, more likely that they had to work harder than a white man to get where they are. And that's all I want to say about that. It's DNA for sure. Wiz Khalifa, rise above. Peace.